Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce the father of our country, our first president, our general, the esteemed George Washington, and the First Lady, Martha.
It is a most excellent day for this turnout for celebrating my birthday. I appreciate that. You do realize they changed the calendar. It was February the 11th originally.
Yes, sir. But we are indeed going to celebrate it. We think it is providential that you would invite yourself to the McDowell House, and we would invite you on the very day of the anniversary of your birth. We are so honored.
Well, it is just a privilege. This is a fine location here at the McDowell House. I've heard tremendous reports of the battles of Kings Mountain and Cowpens as well. Would you care to speak on any of those?
I believe that Mr. Brown might be able to proffer Mr. Brown, or as he may otherwise be known, Dr. Dobson, our ancestor.
Very good. I'm curious as to some of the stories in that regard.
Well, one of the most interesting things we did was when we met right down here.
Indeed.
We had the troops from Wilkes and Surrey counties from this direction, and of course those from across the mountains, and Washington County, as named after you.
Thank you.
Washington, Sullivan counties of North Carolina, and Washington County of Virginia. We came across the mountains, chasing Ferguson. Now, General McDowell here was the organizer of all that. He put all that together, and we met here on the 29th of September of 1780. And the following morning, we continued on down and eventually caught Ferguson at Kings Mountain and gave him a complete and total defeat.
And did I hear some report that he claimed that not even God Almighty could take him off the top of the mountain?
That he said, and he was correct, because he is still there to this day.
You left
under
him
a
there.
Under a pile of rocks,
Yes,
of rocks.
yes. And I heard from Mr. Jefferson in one of his writings, that's Thomas Jefferson, that that was the first chain in events that turned the tide in the American Revolution.
That's correct, and sent His Majesty's forces to Yorktown, and at your able leadership surrounded them and defeated them.
Well, I have a story to tell you there of my own. On the day of the surrender, His Lordship, General Cornwallis, Lord Cornwallis, he said he was too sick to come and tender his sword. His second in command, General Charles O'Hara, brought his surrender sword to us. And as the custom goes, you're supposed to surrender to your equal rank. But he first tried to surrender to Rochambeau with the French. Then he tried to surrender to myself. But as he is equal rank with General Benjamin Lincoln, also General Benjamin Lincoln had surrendered at Charlestown. I saw it fitting to have Cornwallis' second in command turn his sword over to General Benjamin Lincoln as a turn of events.
Indeed.
Was that not a good huzzah?
Yes.
It was.
Yes. So we did bring him to that conclusion, but I could only take his word that he was sick. That's what he claimed.
That's what he claimed.
But he did have a dinner with me. All the officers were invited to come and have dinner, the British officers, after the surrender with their equal rank. And Cornwallis, he pontificated. And I think this was part of the way he wanted to spin the narrative, since he had to surrender at Yorktown. But he sat there and told me that the history books would remember me more greatly for the Princeton and Trenton victories. Now, of course, they were substantial. They kept the war going into December the 26th through January the 3rd, those two victories, of course. But he did not want to have Yorktown to the stellar rank of those victories. I think he wanted to minimize it so that the history books would be more kind to him. But as we know, after Yorktown, it took the spirit out of the British government, out of the British people to continue the revolution. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Tell me more on the cow pens, though. You made mention of the Kings Mountain, which was I heard, but General Morgan and his leadership. How was that?
It was fortuitous that you assigned General Morgan after Gates humiliating defeat at Camden. But Morgan, his brilliance was how he used our militia. The militia, as everybody knows, is not trained fighters in the classical sense of the regular army fighting. But they were very good at laying down 2 or 3 shots. And also Morgan's brilliance was he knew that Vanny Tarleton was a very vain officer. And he held the militia in high contempt. So when Morgan placed the militia in the front line, Tarleton saw that and thought, this is going to be an easy victory. Well, those militia made their 2 or 3 shots, and as Morgan had ordered them, they immediately retreated. Tarleton, thinking they had routed us, he commenced pell-mell into the line. And as he crossed that small little rise there on the Cowpens field, he ran in to the Continental Army's most seasoned fighters, who fired in an extremely well-timed volley. Billy Washington's cavalry swooped around one side, the militia under their leadership and their direction, that Joseph McDowell, by the way, represented Burke County there, enveloped on the other side, fired again into them, and handed them a most complete and total loss.
Devil of a whipping.
Devil of a whipping.
I heard that phrase. Morgan applied that as well to General Nathaniel Greene, who I picked to come south, and those two generals worked very well together. If you know, from the Battle of Saratoga, the riflemen under General Daniel Morgan, the British think that we are barbarians, having the rifles shooting at their officers, which he did there, but he also did at Saratoga. And his riflemen at Saratoga took out the British General Fraser there, causing that to go into chaos and confusion. That is when the French decided to side with us, and Benjamin Franklin over there being our delegate to France to get their support, and Lafayette as well. So, in that regard, as you mentioned, the Continentals, they had bayonets with the French Charlevilles and the bayonets that were shipped to us by the French to stand toe-to-toe with the British. And I understand that the Burke County Militia was out on that lead line and shooting just like Morgan had instructed.
They were.
That they took that field, they shot the officer. Now, don't anyone shoot the epaulets today, please. But that was the orders to give men to shoot the epaulets on the British officers.
The officers and the sergeants.
Exactly. So, huzzah to the victory at Cowpens. And then there was still the battle that went on to Guilford Courthouse under General Greene, and he wanted to ruin Cornwallis. Cornwallis could not stay on the field, and
Was forced to even fire into his own troops to break up that.
Indeed. Operationally, he could not stay. He went down to Wilmington, and he said that the troops from the, North Carolina were rebellious, more rebellious than in all the country. And then he said he wanted to go to Virginia where there were gentlemen. I came to greet him, and that brought the conclusion with the surrender of Yorktown. Huzzah! 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 Thank y'all for inviting me to the birthday. Those are my remarks, and thank you for your service here in Burke County.
The General and Martha, I do believe that there is an event inside at this time, and we are all invited to greet General Washington. And because the victory was so sweet, I do believe there's something sweet inside for us to have as a dessert. So one more time on the count of three. Hip hip! Huzzah! Hip hip! Huzzah! Hip hip!